Hey everyone, there is Athekos. 2 days ago I brought you my most favorite solo experiences in board gaming, and today I'm continuing this. Today I'm bringing you my biggest video of the year. This is my top 20 board games of all time, as of 2021. I plan to revisit this list annually to see what has changed. A small disclaimer before we get started. Of course, this is all my opinion. It's very possible that your list looks completely different. If that's the case, which is very likely, let me know in the comments. It'd be great to get to know your favorite board games. Maybe they can become my most favorite games as well. Alright, without much further ado, this is my list of the 20 best board games of all time, 2021 edition. But before we start, I have an honorable mention, Arcosa. I know that the game was just funded on Kickstarter a little while ago and it's not released yet, but I still have the preview copy in my gaming shelf, so I'm at least mentioning it anyway because it deserves to be on this list. It's just a great game. I have a preview on my channel where I go into more detail, but I summarized the game like this. It's a colorful game with wacky characters, little story bits sprinkled throughout, delivering a unique tabletop gaming experience as you explore the planet and gather resources to build the best bunker with the happiest colonists on the planet. The game really provided me with a very unique experience I've never had with any other game. All mechanisms go really well together and make for an incredibly fun game. And with the future release of the game, there also will be a solo mode, which I'm really excited for. Let's get into the ranking now. Number 20 of my most favorite board games of all time is On the Rocks, which also made an appearance on my top 20 solo experiences list. Additionally, I have an in-depth review of the game on my channel as well as a solo playthrough. This game is wonderful. It's an incredibly relaxing game that you can even play when you're exhausted from work. Also, the components and theme are just great. This is a game you can teach to anyone pretty easily. Also, the setup is quite quick. A game I will definitely recommend to anyone still looking for a light and relaxing puzzle game. My rank 19 is Canvas. This is a game I already ranked in my list of my favorite solo board gaming experiences. I backed this game on Kickstarter because the premise looked just that unique. And I was correct. In Canvas you need to create 3 paintings while fulfilling specific goals. To do so you need to combine 3 separate transparent cards for a painting. This not only looks great but also makes each game unique as there are pretty much endless combinations of cards. Also, the components are nice. This is a light game with just enough strategy to still be deep enough. I highly recommend this as a fun game for the entire family. My number 18 is Rajas of the Ganges. This game was on my list last year too, and it's one of my most favorite worker placement games, although there is an even better one on this list. Rajas of the Ganges combines dice placement with worker placement really well. You always need to pay attention to the color and the face value of the dice you collect in order to use them efficiently. But the most interesting aspect of the game is the winning condition. There are 2 parallel paths on the edge of the game board you're pursuing in opposing directions. You don't win when you reach a specific threshold, but when both of your markers meet. This means that you're quite free in deciding which of the 2 paths you want to pursue more. This is a great and unique concept, making this a very good game. My number 17 is Star Realms. As of recording this video, I have played the game 189 times just this year. I think that proves how addicting the game is. It also helps that the app for the game is very well made and works flawlessly. Star Realms is pretty much just a deck builder, but it reduces the player count to 2 and adds a mechanic of combining specific kinds of cards called factions. These aspects plus very streamlined rules make this a deck builder that is easy to pick up, quick to play, but very deep regarding strategies and variability. This variability only gets better when you start investing in more card decks and boosters. This is a must-play for all fans of deck-building games. My number 16 is my currently most favorite solo game. It's Under Falling Skies. I like the game so much that I started a series on this channel that I will continue very soon. On the one hand, the game has a very simple premise. Think Space Invaders as a board game. On the other hand, it has quite deep tactical layers and a lot of variety with all the different modules you can unlock during the campaign. This game can be played very often before it will become boring. An excellent solo game that also deserves to be in my top 20 of my all-time favorite games. Rank 15 is Century Golem Edition. This is a game I've been wanting to play for a very long time, and this year I finally was able to get it. And it was definitely worth it. This game is a very simple hand management game that is incredibly simple. You have 4 actions and you need to claim a specific number of golems. That's pretty much it. The game is quick to set up, teach and tear down. Even the game length isn't too long. A great game that you can even play when you're a bit exhausted from work, similar to On the Rocks. It challenges your brain, but not too much to be overwhelming. Also, the game is beautiful. The crystals are really chunky, the metal coins have great design, and the art is just gorgeous. This is a very pretty game. Number 14 of my most favorite games is Tale of Merchants, another deck builder. Then again, it's not just another deck builder. The game takes the well-known and loved mechanism and applies quite a few changes to it. You don't discard unused cards at the end of the turn, and new cards you can take into your hand directly. This massively increases the tactical layer of the game. Also, the variety of the game is crazy, especially if you own the entire collection. There are so many decks to choose from, plus all the characters and trap cards. If you own everything, you need to have played the game numerous times until you have seen everything. And even then, you haven't experienced all combinations yet. This game is worth it alone for the long-term value, but it's also a really good game. It's definitely my most favorite competitive deck builder as of now. My number 13 is a beautiful game that I fell in love with just this year since it's quite new. It's Cascadia. I have spoken about this game so many times this year, but it is probably my most favorite gateway game at the moment since it's simple to teach, quick to set up, and still provides a really neat puzzle. As I already mentioned in my solo board game experiences video, it never is too demanding but always engaging. Also, its solo mode is really great. I'm pretty sure I can recommend this game to everyone. It's just that accessible and fun. Magellan is my number 12. Quite a while ago, when I first started my channel a month ago, I released a short review for this game. It's not very well known, which is something I can't understand. I'm a big fan of pushy luck games and Magellan is my absolute favorite as of now. First of all, the theme and artwork are very pleasing. It's designed by Ryan Laukat, after all, my most favorite game designer. Also, it supports up to 5 players, plays quite quickly, and adds some neat mechanisms into the mix. You go through levels and hope to survive the hazards. If you make it out alive, you get to keep the treasures you find. But these treasures don't make you win. They merely let you either increase your health or purchase buildings that give you specific advantages or coins. And coins is when you need to win. So this game definitely offers a few more tactical layers than some of the other pushy luck games. I can highly recommend this one. Number 11 is also the second best solo game on my list, Aeon's End. Although the theme is quite generic, the gameplay definitely is not. It's a cooperative deck builder that can also be played solo very well. The game features different bosses with very different mechanics that completely alter how the game should be played. Combined with all the different spells, artifacts, crystals and heroes, this game has an extreme amount of variability, especially when you also get all the expansions. The game is really tough, but very rewarding when you finally beat a boss. It's not exactly a family game, but it's also not too hard to get into. I'd classify it as a medium weight game. If you have the chance to try this game, I'd highly suggest you do. My number 10 is the best cooperative game I know, Spiral Island. This game is one of the heaviest on my list. It not only has a lot of rules to grasp, it also is a tough game. It is quite hard to win, especially when playing the hardest scenarios. But it's definitely worth it. The game has an incredible theme. You need to control the area, but you're not the invader this time. You play one of these spirits trying to defend the island from the invaders. What a great idea. And it works flawlessly. One of the most important aspects of the game is the asymmetry of the different spirits. Each combination of spirits plays so different to other combinations. This makes the game highly replayable and always exciting. And should you ever know everything the game has to offer, you can just start again with the expansions. A game that sometimes is hard to get to the table, but definitely one of the very best ones out there. Rank number 9 is Parks. This game is stunningly beautiful. It's definitely one of the most beautiful board games out there. Also, it has incredible components that perfectly fit into the great insert. The game is just fun because of all these factors, but the gameplay is also very well done. You control 2 hikers that roam the camping trail planning to visit different national parks. While doing that, you can also receive better equipment and try to achieve your own personal goal. It's a light, medium weight game you can play with nearly anyone. And you should. This is a wonderful game you should experience at least once. My number 8 is one of the earlier Kickstarter projects I backed a few years ago. It's Rome by Ryan Laukat. Apart from the nice art, which pretty much all games by Ryan Laukat have, this is a very simple puzzle game you can play with pretty much everyone. Especially if you leave out the artifacts. You have cards in front of you with specific patterns that you can use to cover the landscape cards in the middle with. When a landscape card is covered, the person with the most tokens on it receives the card that grants them a new pattern to use. That's it. It's as simple as that. Despite its very simple premise, the game is incredibly fun. It's a great puzzle trying to figure out which landscape cards would help you the most. Another game that doesn't seem to be very well known, but one of my absolute favorites. Rank number 7 is one of my very first Kickstarter backs ever. It's Bargain Quest. The premise of the game is really creative. Monsters threaten the lands and it needs heroes to defeat these monsters. But this time you don't play any of the heroes in this game. You play the ones the heroes depend on the most, the merchants. This premise is great. You are the merchants selling the heroes all the equipment they need to defeat the monsters. Or maybe the equipment they don't need. Because in the end you can receive points for your heroes dealing damage and surviving, but you can also receive points by just selling things. So maybe you'll just sell your junk to the heroes and make a living with that. Such a wonderful game that just doesn't get talked about enough. My number 6 is by far the biggest box I own. Mechs vs. Minions. This is another game not many people talk about. My guess is that many people have not played it, otherwise it would appear on more best of lists, I'm sure of that. This game uses one of my most favorite mechanisms, action programming. Not only that, the game is also cooperative. It's a chaotic game and you're trying as a team to somehow control the inevitable chaos through a multi-mission campaign. Also, this is probably one of the games with the greatest components ever. The insert is fantastic and has an exact spot for all of the very well made components. This game looks, feels and plays incredibly well. This is a game that will probably never leave my collection. It's that close to my heart. My number 5 is Above and Below, yet another game by Ryan Laukat. What a wonderful game. Of course, this game also displays very nice artwork. The mechanisms the game provides are very creative. This is an engine builder where you try to accumulate points by constructing buildings that give you these victory points, but also enhance your abilities or provide you with materials. But you can also construct buildings in the cave system, but to do so you'll need to explore these caves first. And this is where the story aspect comes in. You need to make decisions and pass skill checks to successfully go through events that then may grant you a bonus and the cave card that you can use to put a building there. This is such a great concept and a very good game. One of my absolute favorites, granting it a well-deserved position at rank 5 on my list. We're getting close to my all-time top 3. Rank 4 is Everdell. This is quite funny, because this game also took rank 4 in my list of the best solo games. As I've already mentioned in my other video, it's one of the most beautiful games ever made. Also, its mechanisms, engine building and worker placement work extraordinarily well together. This game has a very tight design, yet still allowing for different strategies and tactics. This is another game you definitely need to experience at least once in your life. My number 3 is one of the greatest games ever made, hence its position on rank 3. It's also one of the most tense games ever made. I'm referring to Dawn of the Zeds 3rd edition. The game has a great theme and manages it to really immerse you in it. When playing the game, it doesn't take long until you're at the edge of your seat and trying to keep the zombies away from the city center until the entire event deck has been resolved. While the game is extremely difficult, it's never unfair. If you play your cards right, you almost always have the chance to turn the tide, even if pretty much every game will be extremely close. This game does take a few hours to play, and it is quite complex, especially at the higher levels. But I promise you, it is 100% totally worth it. This is another one of my games that will probably never leave the collection. My number 2 is yet another game designed by Ryan Laukat. It's Sleeping Gods. This is a very impressive game that I backed on Kickstarter. You take control of an entire crew, no matter the player count, and then embark on a story-based campaign that takes you and your ship, the Manticore, all across the Wandering Sea. There's so much that I could say about the game, but in summary, this is an incredibly ambitious game, and the only one I know that truly presents you with an open world. You are free to explore whatever you want as soon as you have finished the short tutorial mission. This is an incredible experience that is unfortunately slightly bogged down by a lot of small and fiddly mechanics and an extensive time to set up and take down of the game. Also, there are a lot of rules. This game is best played with someone who has already played it and knows the rules well enough. But if these things pose no problem for you, this is a one-of-a-kind, incredible open-world adventure board game experience. Well, that's a description right there. My number 1 game as of this year probably won't surprise you if you follow my social media accounts closely. Of course, it's Wingspan. This has been my absolute favorite for a bit more than 2 years and no other game has been able to dethrone it. Yet. A few games came close, but none has managed to take its place. It's a very good engine builder with truly beautiful art the wonderful Beth Sobel contributed to. This game is nearly perfect. The components and art are stunning. The gameplay is very fluid and the rules aren't overly complex. I believe that this is a very good entry into medium weight games that is quite simple to grasp but still provides a very good amount of strategy. This is an excellent board game which deserves to be at the top spot on my list. Congratulations! You've made it to the very end of my list of my most favorite games of all time. This list will most likely change during next year, and I'm excited to revisit the list at the end of 2022. But now it's your turn. What are currently your favorite games of all time? Let me know in the comments. Maybe I learn of a game I didn't know before, which would be just wonderful. Alright, thank you very much for watching if you're still doing so. Why don't you check out the other videos on my channel? Also, if you enjoyed this video, why don't you share it with your friends? I would be very thankful for that. Alright, I'll see you on the channel. Take care everyone, cheers, and a happy new year, hopefully full of board gaming.